Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Muradian from the Farnborough International Air Show outside London, and we have with us Sash Tusa of Agency Partners, one of the city's top aerospace and defense analysts. Sash, thanks for joining us.
A pleasure, Vago. Good morning.
Obviously, a very big show. Weather was a little bit of a problem on day one. F-35 is the belle of the ball. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about the major themes that we're seeing at the show and how what's going to be happening here is going to affect the next year?
Well, as you say, the F-35 is the star element of this show, but actually there's a much broader issue there. It's very, very hard to have a show that showcases the UK aerospace industry when the announcements that are made by politicians on the first day of the show are about sending business abroad, are about our major deals to buy P-8 aircraft and Apache helicopters from Boeing. So that has quite a dampener effect in terms of the morale for UK aerospace. The second issue is civil aerospace. We're going into a downturn at the moment. There are many, many fewer orders than there have been at previous shows, either here or at Paris. The media chalet is just much emptier now, and that is starting to cause some concern among investors, and I think some concern among the companies. There's a third interesting issue which follows on from that, which is that in the US, Exim Bank can't function at the moment. The chairman of Exim Bank yesterday said he only has authorization to support deals up to $10 million. He needs another board member, and the US Senate won't approve one. So there is now no export credit agency support for Boeing or the US aero engine makers, certainly until the end of this year or sometime into next year. And that sort of thing at this stage of a civil aerospace cycle makes life very difficult for the companies.
Well, and the Exim Bank, the Export-Import Bank, also applies to commercial space as well at a time when the United States is trying to get back into that market.
Yeah, I can't think of that many satellites that are selling for $10 million at the moment. So, satellite exports, and let's face it, almost all commercial satellite deals are exports. They're just off the table for US companies.
Let's talk a little bit about the weapons market. I mean, both on the P-8, the 9 P-8s that are being ordered, as well as for the Apache Es, AH-64Es, would presumably are going to be bought through the U.S. Foreign Military Sales System, which is sort of much more come-as-you-are as opposed to a modified version. Philip Dunne, the Minister for Defense Procurement, has said that it will have American comms on it. But let's talk about the weapons, because, for example, the UK torpedo industry is hanging on by a thread. What does that mean if anti-submarine aircraft are bought from the United States with U.S. weapons for that important industry in the UK?
The UK submarine industry has got two products. Spearfish heavyweight torpedo for the submarines, that's fine. But the Stingray lightweight torpedo, it's very hard. We've just spent $750 million upgrading Stingray to a new modification, but those go on the Merlin helicopters and used to go on the Nimrods. If they don't fit on the P-8s, then over time we are just killing the lightweight torpedo industry in the UK. That has knock-on effects to the heavyweight torpedo industry. So, there's no industrial strategy here.
Do you think, what are some of the other knock-on effects, though? Because there are subsystems implications as well, aren't there?
With P-8, when the initial decision was made and announced at the 2015 Strategic Defence and Security Review, there was a commitment that the P-8s would have £1 billion of UK content on it. Well, that's over 100 million sterling of UK content per aircraft. I just don't see how the politicians came up with that number, let alone how they can deliver that. So the knock-on effects in terms of all the subsystems, comms, sensors, and indeed just the mechanical and electrical systems, that affects UK industry.
We can't finish the interview without asking you about Brexit. Obviously, it's the big talk of the show as I was getting ready for it. A couple of my friends said that the only question really that matters is asking every single person you see a Brexit question. You've analyzed this space for a long, long time. What does Brexit mean from your standpoint as you look at the industry going forward?
Look, as a Brit, I have to start off by apologising. Our political system has fouled up completely. The worrying thing for industry, I think, is not so much the immediate impact on trade. You've got to remember, commercial aerospace, all commercial aerospace cross-border transactions are free of tariffs under the World Trade Organization. No effect there. But actually, more importantly, it's the big impact on the political system of just losing the bandwidth. It's going to be hard for politicians to think about a defence industrial strategy when when they're worrying about Brexit. It's going to be hard for politicians to go out and look for defence exports when they're worrying, when they're thinking about Brexit. All of the Foreign Office is going to be working on Brexit at the moment, and the Department of Trade and Industry, BIS, is going to be thinking about how to manage new tariffs and so forth. So we're going to be inward-looking, not outward-facing, and that means that industry is going to have to pick up the slack.
So even though Michael Fallon, Defense Secretary Fallon, told me just the other day that UK will still be playing a big role, you think there are going to be some challenges?
I think that UK defence is going to have to play a big role. I would hope that Michael Fallon is saying to the services, you have got to go out and you've got to lean forward into Europe and actually into the world. You have got to actually represent Britain at its best. And if that means doing more in terms of exercises, in terms of overseas deployments, in terms of assistance to our allies, you should do so. I really hope he says that, because that will make up for what will be a degree of, if not political paralysis, certainly political preoccupation.
Sash, thanks so very much. Best of luck at the show.
Thank you very much indeed, Vargo.